Well, good afternoon and welcome to Aldroon Travels. Today I'm just slightly up the coast. I've come to a place I know quite well called Aberdare Castle. There will be a bit of grass cutting in the background, but let's not worry about that. Just up the coast from myself. It's quite an interesting place historically, but there is a little bit of background to a certain American big budget television series. Well, I'll come to that later. What is everywhere upstairs? So we'll just cut through the walled garden. Hi. What's that? I think we'll take a little trip down to the Duke. Wonder what time it is. Well, according to this, it's just coming up to 2 o'clock. And 5 to 2. Well, that was a walk for nothing. Maybe we can see through. I'll see if I've got an old photograph of this and I can actually put it on. At least you get a good view of the castle. Well, they've done a good job of stabilising the old castle gardens and in some cases started to refurbish them. A lot of work. Well, here's a really interesting piece of masonry. Apparently it fell from the tower back in 1919. Such was the strength of the cement that bound it all together, it fell in one piece and landed in one piece. So they've kept it here. So what was this famous television programme? Well, as a hint, I was here in a kilt, no top and bare feet. Fortunately, it was warmer than this. A few years ago, I was honoured to be part of filming for the television series Outlander, and I was playing a prisoner, as always. So we walked in here, we were dragged in here to be put in our cell for filming. Now, if you look at the floor, it's rather, shall we say, rough. So rather than in bare feet, they put us in Crocs. Not my best experience. Our cell was here. They had a large fiberglass rock that we were attached to in the middle of the floor, and I was stuck in the far corner, so would not really see me. This is where Claire was looking for Jamie. She was going from cell to cell. But just a little background, a little bit of movie magic. Claire had come from another cell in that direction, but as you see, there's a wall. The other cell was actually in a different town, in a different county. That cell was in Linlithgow Palace, and they brought the wooden gate and the rock to dress the set. An amusing thing that happened was that there were some of us extras dressed as Highlanders that were prisoners, and there were some dressed as redcoats. When it came to lunchtime, all the Highlanders sat together and all the redcoats sat together. We didn't mix. And that happened 2 days in a row. So now we go from fictional Scottish history to real Scottish history.
Well, come about 4 miles up the coast from Aberdeen to see this. But what is this? And why is it here? This is a very important monument to commemorate the death of one of Scotland's kings, King Alexander III. This was a very important point in Scottish history. Why is that? Well, let's have a look.
So who was Alexander III? He was born in 1241, son of Alexander II of Scotland, and came to the throne when he was only 8 years old. Of course, at 8 years old, he couldn't rule for himself, so there was a lot of jostling in the background to take power. Not the least of whom was Henry III of England. After being crowned at Scone in 1249, Henry III made his move, and in 1251 he knighted him down in York. That was on Christmas Day. The very next day, he married Princess Margaret, daughter of Henry III of England, and cemented a very shaky relationship. She was a full year older than him. Alexander took control of the crown in his own right when he got to 21 in 1262. Unfortunately, Margaret died in 1274, and their two sons had both died by early 1283. Their daughter, also called Margaret, was the wife of King Elric II of Norway, and died in childbirth in 1284, so this left Alexander with no heir. So Alexander, needing a male heir, married again in 1285, this time to Yolande de Dreux.
On the night of the 19th of March 1286, despite warnings, he was determined to visit his queen at Kinghorn Castle because it was her birthday the next day, and obviously having an heir was foremost in his mind. He crossed from Dalmeny to Inverkeithing, and as he was riding along the cliff near Kinghorn, his horse stumbled. Alexander was thrown over the cliff.
This naturally plunged Scotland into a constitutional crisis, which lasted from 1286 until the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314, where the matter was settled. So if you enjoyed these videos, please like and subscribe. It all helps. And I'll see you next week with a new adventure.